All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the Chris Maher Show. This is a exclusive interview. This has been a long time coming. This man right here, ladies and gentlemen, is I've mentioned him many times. Former Philadelphia Flyer, my personal favorite Flyer for years. Jake Voracek, 1,058 games, 223 goals, 583 assists. Incredible career. Jake, thanks so much, brother. Really appreciate you hopping on. And how you doing?
No problem, buddy. It's I'm doing great. I'm back home in Prague and just kind of doing the regular stuff and back to hockey about a few weeks back and it's interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's been a lot of things that I think that have gone on with you recently. Going back to your last year in Philly. Let's kind of start there. I mean, I know everybody kind of goes from the beginning of your career, but we've heard about that before. Let's kind of switch this up a bit. So, Jake, I think for you, and I guess where I'll start. Obviously, you were in Philly a long time, 10 years. Is there a favorite moment that you have from Philly, or just any collective amount of years or seasons or anything?
Obviously, it's really hard to pick a moment if you're somewhere for 10 years, but just a favorite moment as a whole, it just literally we've been like a family. I know it's kind of cliche that when the team's doing good or not doing good, that you're sticking together as a family. There's a lot of those words are used in the sports talks and everything. But literally, like we did everything together. I don't want to miss anybody, but me, G, Kutz, Lauten, Raffl, Gudas later on. When Kim was there, Hartzy, Simmer, Bobby Hawk came on, TK, Travis Hanheim. Like it's just, Kevin Hayes later on. It's just been we had such a good locker room. We were holding each other accountable. And, obviously with me reading sometimes the tweets or fucking HM reports or something like that, you read stuff that they're not true or the people are so way off. But,
Right.
I think that I was always saying that you carry those moments for the rest of your life. And I can genuinely, honestly say that I made so many lifetime friends over that span of a decade that I'm gonna carry those memories for the rest of my life, with how much fun we had, how much struggle we had, how much when we nobody was giving us a chance of making the playoffs, we made it. Then we won 10 in a row, another year, and we didn't make the playoffs. It felt like every fucking year we broke some kind of record. You know what I mean? I was like, what's going to be next year? Jesus Christ. Like, we went literally, it was 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. We went from losing 10, making the playoffs, to winning 10, not making the playoffs. No team's ever fucking done that.
That was 15, 16, and 16, 17. Yeah.
And then the year after, we had the most goalies ever that stood up for our team.
Yeah, 10.
2 years later, something like that. Like, I don't even know what year it was. So it's been, but like I said, we did it together. You know what I mean? When we were losing, we hung out together. We had a few beers together. We had fun when we were winning. Like it's just such a good memories. And like I said, I'm sure those guys that's been part of that feel exactly the same way. So it's obviously it sucks that we haven't won anything, but
right.
You gotta have everything going in your way, which obviously while I was there we didn't on a lot of occasions, but.
Yeah,
but I can't say anything bad about Philly. Fuck, I love that place.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, just to kind of piggyback off your answer, like it felt like there were a lot of times where you guys drove the bus, if it was G or you or Simmer, Shen, whoever. In my opinion, my personal opinion, Jake, I think a lot of guys' careers were wasted in some ways, in the sense that we never really had a lot of depth, a lot of, backup scoring outside of you and G and Jake. And some of the years that, I mean, you put up 80 points, I believe, in, I think it was 85 in 17-18, and G when G had the 102 year. And outside of that, the scoring was kind of thin. So, I'm just curious.
We barely made the playoffs. We barely made the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
It was hard with it was. Listen, like it's obviously you go through something. You go through different phases of manager, presidency. You go through different things of your career. That was the thing, like Homer took off. He never wanted to rebuild. He always wanted to, he was the guy that always went for it, which you can't blame him because it's Philadelphia, people want to go for it. Then Hexie took over, and obviously it was a little bit different because he was kind of standoffish approach. So he wanted to retool, you know what I mean? And then obviously the patience in Philly isn't at the highest level. Let's be awesome. Let's be honest about that. Which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's bad. It just that's how it is. That's how the city is built, and that's how the sports teams are managed or whatever. But there was sometimes like it was years. I don't know which years that was, but we knew if me and G or the power play wasn't going to perform in some kind of way, or we're not going to be at the highest level, that we probably won't win the game. You know what I mean? But you learn from that. We weren't quitters. We weren't whiners. We just went with it. And obviously, me and G, when we talk about it, obviously wanted to leave Philly one day with the cup, but sometimes it's not meant to be, and just things go the wrong way, and some weird fucking people get hired, and then they get fired, and then you go, it was a lot of emotions, but on the other hand, I wouldn't change it. I had such a great time.
Just kind of going off that too. I mean, it felt like that as a fan watching. It felt like it was like, holy shit! Like if you guys don't perform, we're screwed type of mentality, and that was what it felt like for a while. When you look back on it, Jake, is there anything that I guess that in your mind the lack of making the playoff, that consistency, is there anything that you can think of where that stems from?
It's really hard to say, right? So like I said, I had a great relationship. Usually, like my bad was I had a great relationship with the management or with GMs anywhere I went, and I didn't have a really great relationship with some of the coaches that I had. So it was always kind of weird situation. But let's say I think the one thing what happened back then and after 14-15. I think it's Hexie kept Chief as a coach. I think we would be in a different spot for years after that, in my own opinion. I might be wrong. It's not that I don't dislike Hack. I think he's a completely different coach now in Seattle. I think
clearly,
he had a lot of experience going through the time in Philly. There was a lot of times we disagreed with each other on a lot of topics. And I disagreed the way he approached me in a lot of topics. And we actually, at the end of his tenure, we discussed it. We talked about it. And, then he gained some experience in Toronto. And then he got hired in Seattle. And I'm pretty sure, good for him that, he took that time and he kind of reflected on it. He was like, okay, I can do some things. I got to do some things differently. Because in my opinion, a lot of coaches do the same things repeatedly over and over. And it just doesn't work sometimes. So good for Hack, and but like I said, it's everybody's different. Everybody has a different opinion on things. But it was a lot of coaches in Philly, a lot of time, a lot of up and downs. It was always up and down. We were never like this. When we were like this, I felt like it was right before the fucking COVID hit. For about 3 months, and then we were feeling, I was like, all right, here's our chance. Here we go. Fucking next 2-3 years, exactly where my contract ends. I feel like we can make a push. And then the fucking COVID is at the bubble, and and the next year with the COVID, it was just horrendous all over the place. And and after that, after I left, I think almost everybody was gone after, so too. So
right,
obviously it's weird, but it is what it is. Sometimes shit happens quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of going off that, you mentioned Hackstall a little bit. What were some of the things that you guys disagreed on? Was it just your usage or power play, or was it just things in general? Or
just the approach. I mean, I didn't expect that he's gonna come there and like keep patting me on my back. Listen, I never made it easy for myself. I was always blunt and honest, and if I think something was being handled the wrong way, I fucking said it. That's my bad. I mean, I was hoping that over the years, as I get older, I'm gonna learn and keep my mouth shut sometimes. But no, it got even worse. You know, like my favorite comedian Bill Burr was saying, you get from the point of you shouldn't say that. Oh well, fuck it, say it. See what happens. That's exactly how I was. Right.
Yeah.
But I was always thinking about good of a team and about being a good guys around in the locker room. And I think it was always my first mentality to take care of the guys before anybody else. And sometimes I got a lot of heat for that. And yeah, but I wouldn't change a thing. I always could look at myself in the mirror and I was playing with my balls on the table every day, and I wouldn't change a dime.
Is there so? Just kind of going off that, then like the end of your time in Philly, when you mentioned that you felt like you guys kind of had a push there, that 1920 season. I think you guys were seventh in the NHL. Obviously, really good, and then COVID hit. And then you go to the bubble. What went wrong in the bubble? Like, when you look back on it, do you have any idea like what went wrong there?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I would start before the stoppage. We were okay. We might have been seventh, but we were for about 2 months. I think we were top two teams in the league.
Yes,
wise, right?
That is true.
We were absolutely. The power play was absolutely humming. The 5-on-5 that we traded for Thompson and Grant, and we got a little depth there, and it was just everybody was buzzing. Everybody was playing with a confidence. It was such a good feeling. And then obviously the stoppage came. We flew to Tampa after the Boston game, and then shit went down. So everybody went home, and we showed up in a bubble. Obviously, you don't know how everybody's going to be prepared or how they're going to feel, but because it's in the middle of the summer, you're not used to playing, high-end hockey. And yeah, we started 3-0 against in the round robin or whatever the fuck that was. Remember, I think we beat everyone. We beat everyone 3-0, and you know what? I have a lot of respect for him as a coach, what he has done with his resume, with his winning games and everything. But fuck, was he arrogant? He was just. It was tough, but whatever. We're gonna get to that later. What happened there was we played at round robin. We played the way we played in the regular season before stoppage, right? So he kind of let us play. He gave us some guidance. He let us play, and we had a lot of guys that wanted to do good and wanted to play with a confidence and, carry the puck. And if you can, you just try to make that right decision. And then the Montreal series came around, and so we had a few meetings like a couple of days prior to game one, and then everything got changed. We just started playing that, standing still hockey with redirection behind our own net, like a kind of playoff hockey, which is fine, which there's a time and place to do it. But for us at that moment, I think that was wrong to change anything up because we were literally steamrolling. I think it was a hard series against Montreal. We won 4-2, but it should have been swept or 4-1 if we played the way we did in the round robin or prior.
Right.
And it just cost us a lot of energy overall. And I think if we played the same way before, like we did before against Islanders, we would beat them too. We had a really good chance. And, nothing got changed after that first meeting before the Montreal game. And then we just worked too incredibly hard to create anything offensively, which we never had a problem before.
Yeah.
And obviously
it felt like it took all the energy for you guys to score a goal. That's what it felt like watching it.
And, especially against Islanders, it's instead of them making them defend, we were just chasing them and just doing that stuff for 7 games. But it was just I think there was a mistake there. my honest opinion. And then the next year it was completely shit show overall. It was just
What
everything
happened that
sucked.
next year?
Well, I remember that I showed up at the training camp in January, right? And I had a meeting with AV, and he goes, "Yeah, last year was a good year for you. You played well, blah blah blah. Not a really good start, but then you got going. Then you were good in the playoffs. Round one, you were great against Montreal. You were shit against Islanders." I obviously disagreed, and he was like, "Yeah, your success came because you play with Coots, and then anybody can play with Coots, and you're not a young chicken anymore, so you have to work really hard, blah, blah, blah." So I'm walking out of that meeting, I'm like, here we go again. Jesus fucking Christ, right? So I'm like, okay, it's going to be this kind of time again, because I always felt like for some kind of reason, I never could relax. When I relax, I play the best, right? When I didn't have a pressure, sometimes, like Chief, when he was like hard on me in a good way, he meant it well, it helped me. But like this kind of politics, I couldn't deal with that. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll see how it's gonna go. So obviously we started losing games. I was getting blamed on whatever. I was used to that. I didn't give a fuck about that. But it got to the point where we were in Buffalo, I think, and I called Chuck Fletcher. It was in March, maybe end of March. And so after the way Amy was talking to me and the way he was handling it, I was like, he's got a contract for 3 more years. He's gonna fucking bury me or something. So I was like, Chuck, listen, like things are like this. I don't think there's a future for me because Amy obviously signed for 3 more next year. And
We're still paying them now. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like I can be still a productive player.
Right.
If I'm used right, and if I just at my 32 years of age, I'm not gonna get shit on my fucking head every fucking game, right? So we kind of we had a great talk. Chuck was a great guy overall, but obviously and bad there in Philly as well. But he was a good dude. So we kind of had an agreement that if there's gonna be something for Philly that makes sense, that I'm gonna be moved. So I knew since March that I was gonna be on the move probably in the summer. Obviously, I wasn't sure about my cap hit. Was obviously high for the teams, but I wasn't sure. So what happened, right? I was in Philly by myself for 5 months, right? I had no family there. My son was at home with Marquetta. We had a Rosie on the way, which was supposed to be born in early February,
Right.
right? So now, if I fly home for the birth, I come back. There's a quarantine. I have to miss another 2 weeks. I get out of shape. Season is fucked. So I'm like, listen, Marquetta said he's gonna handle it. She wanted to give a birthday check. I was like, all right, fair enough. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll figure it out. I'm gonna stay in Philly, and so I did. So I haven't seen my daughter for 3 months. For 3 months of when she was born, I haven't seen my son basically for 5 months when around 2 years old.
Yeah.
I was homesick, obviously, with that kind of expression. You couldn't go anywhere in a restaurant. You couldn't do anything, and on the road you couldn't do anything. You had to stay at a hotel, right? But whatever, you can still handle it. I would say I'm tough mentally this way. So I lost about I got home seriously after season. I got home, and people are looking at me and asking me if I'm sick. Like that's how I look. I lost 20 pounds. I saw some pictures the other day. I was looking at it. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So imagine that. So I'm going through everything all of that year.
Right.
By myself, whatever. I look like a ghost. 3 games left in the season. I'm leading the team in scoring by 3 or 4 points, right? Then we finished, me and JVR and G. I think we finished tied that year. Last 3 games, I was all over in my head. And before the last fucking game in Philadelphia, I'm not supposed to start, right? I was on a second line with someone. I can remember JVR and someone, and Ghost is on a second or third pairing. And that fucking guy walks in, and he goes, "All right, well, for some of you guys, it's the last game. We're never gonna play like this again. So for some of you, it's the last game." And then me and Ghost starts. So what did it say, right? What does it say? You're not on those lines, but you're starting with G and Coots. So obviously, it's fucking game over, right? So all
Right.
those 10 years of fucking emotions just build up, just absolutely fucking builds up. And I remember during the anthem when Lauren Hart sang it, I started tearing up. First year I started tearing up. I was already leaving after the game because I was so homesick and I couldn't deal with saying goodbyes to everyone because I had such a close relationship with all of the guys, all of the trainers, all of the people in the arena. We had such a good memories. And so I hopped on a plane right after the game. I was in the air we finished the game at 9:40, 10:45. I was in the air, right? So I say to guys,
Wow.
I say the byes to the guys in the locker room because it was too much for me. And so I got home. I finally saw my family, and obviously then I got to Columbus, and then I went off of that. But so it was kind of bittersweet ending in Philly. But like I said, it's something that I will never forget, and I'm glad I got to experience that with so many great guys and so many great people around the hockey.
Right. No, yeah, and it's such a shame too. I mean, like the way you describe it. I mean, from being, not really home and everything that's going on. You mentioned Chuck a little bit. What was kind of the issue with Chuck? Like, it seems like for me, like I just don't understand how he comes in, right? And as you mentioned,
Can
we
you give
were.
me? Can it? I'm gonna answer you. I'm just gonna grab a chew. Give me a second.
Yeah, you're fine.
There we go. Wait. Yeah. What was it wrong with Chuck? That's your question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was more of it goes from Chuck, and they hire him in 2018-19 or towards the end of that season. Really, the first year was full 19-20, and obviously with the first year of AV too. He comes in and cap space was pretty good. Everybody was on a good contract. Obviously he traded Simmonds at the deadline a little bit before the end of that year. Cap hit, caps. You guys had cap space. I believe the prospect pool was ranked number 1 by ESPN at one point going into that year. Fan base seemed decently high. I mean, obviously we were hoping for a better year, and everything kind of just went to shit. I mean, from that year to, that was the good year. He came in, made a couple of moves, obviously got Hayes, Braun.
Hazy was like Hazy. I know he got a lot of shit for Hazy, but Hazy was a good signing. Like it's overall the way he played his position, like behind Cruz, like he was really tough to play against. Like he was good in his role, right? And also everything started falling apart. Then Hazy became expendable, obviously, right? But with Cruz out, Hazy's playing number 1 center. It's kind of hard. But so what was I think. What I think, I'm not really sure. That's just my opinion, right? I think he got fooled by AV. AV was like, this guy is fucking, I want him out of here. That guy, Ghost, I want him fucking out of there. He doesn't bring anything to the team. He's fucking, because I always stood up for the guy, so I fucking say whatever I thought. I always got shit from the coaches, especially from him, because, his ego was so fucking high that he couldn't fit in the door sometimes. And so he was like, okay, well, you just signed me for 5 years, $5 million contract. I'm going to call the shots now. So Chuck was handcuffed, in my opinion. So he was like, I want this fucking guy out of here. I want this guy out of here. We need more of this, more of that, more of that. So then obviously Chuck made it happen, and they weren't performing. Then the start of the season was brutal, if I remember correctly. For the guys, they were going through the same shit. And what I heard that he absolutely checked out. As a coach in the middle of your contract when you basically calling the shots. So Chuck was absolutely screwed because he put his trust in the wrong hands.
Yeah, like by Thanksgiving of that year, they were done. I mean, they weren't close to a playoff spot. They were losing a lot of games. Power play stunk.
Then you still got to do your fucking job.
Right.
You know what I mean? We were out of the playoffs sometimes, and we still went to the game, and we were playing our fucking nuts off sometimes. Some of those years. Right? Simmer, fucking Ultimate Warrior, G, Coots, like Shenner, like, Chemo, whatever.
we always played hard. No matter what, we always played hard. So if you see that somebody above you isn't in there mentally and he's just checked out and he's saying, "Oh, do whatever the fuck you want,"
Yeah.
well, what's gonna happen?
Because
Everything
I
will
heard
crumble,
stories
right?
like that too, where he just gave up, where it was like, all right, and
Yeah.
then
Well, how can you do that?
yeah,
How can you do
It's-
that? It's just so fucking. It's exactly. And you know what? I didn't tell that to the guys on the team. Actually, I did. I'm fucking full of shit now. I said it to obviously my closest guys that we've been together for a decade, Coots and G.
Right.
I was like, guys, you guys gonna have a fucking hands full with it because he's not doing it the right way, and he's gonna stab you in the back, like in any second he's gonna get any chance.
yeah.
And
Does part of you look at?
man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but does part of you
No,
look
go
at,
ahead.
you know, with Chuck then, that at least some of it where it was like, you know, he could have also done his job too and let AV go? Because to be fair, you know, he made a lot of moves getting Ellis versus the line, and obviously they got, you know, Atkinson back for you that summer. And the biggest thing in my opinion, Jake, was they made all the moves, kept AV in the same coaching staff, and had the same shit issues, and nothing changed. And then they were still had injuries and everything else, and Ellis played 4 games, and the season was done by November.
Well, you gotta understand that it's only 2 years since you hired him, so you're under a lot of pressure. If the guy that you hired, you're gonna fire 2 years later on a 5-year contract, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
obviously, with AV's being such a good communicator with the media, with the fucking whoever else he needed to, well, he might have got fooled as well. And
Right.
you know, it was just that's my opinion on it. Like I said, I respect AV as a coach, what he's done in New York and Vancouver, because there's a success behind him. Let's be honest, right?
Right.
Done a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
good things.
definitely. Yeah.
But if you quit on something that's your fucking job, kind of respect you deserve. Fucking none. That's my personal, honest opinion on those things.
Right.
And I kind of felt bad. I had a COVID with Columbus, but I came to Philly on the day of the game, and I played that game. And you know, I went into the locker room, say hi to everyone before and after the game. We had a beer with G and Coots and you know, Hazy and all those guys. Like 15 guys having a beer together, like we did in the old days. So we kind of discussed what's going on, and they were just down. You see, they were just hope. There was no hope. There was no energy, and like I said, it's really hard when things go the wrong way. But those guys done it before. You know what I mean?
Right.
We went through a lot of shit, and they've done it before, and they rised up, or we rised up, and just could tell that there was something going on there, and obviously Yossi was at the helm by that time. We played him. We played Philly, but that energy just it's really hard to kind of get rid of, and unfortunately it went downhill from there and even before. But yeah, that's my ending in Philly. But I'm gonna top it off with so I'm not only bitching about other people. Like, I was an easy guy to kind of handle as well. Like, I was always pushing through the idea of, if you are too skinny in a training camp, you're gonna be even skinnier by February when the playoff race starts, right? And you play every other day. And if you're skinny, if you don't have energy, like if you are 6% body fat, what can you do out of that? Just impossible. And everyone's body is different as well. I'm here in Czech eating that fucking Czech food, you know, in the summer. Like, it's not easy to come at 9%, 10%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
You know,
so
it's funny because I remember you saying that a couple years ago.
Yes, I was always in shape, but my body fat was always a little bit higher than it should be, and that's the red light for the coaches, right? So
Right.
I'm gonna give the coaches benefit of the doubt with that they think I was out of shape, which I wasn't, by testing and something like that. But my body fat was a little higher, so their mind goes, "Oh, well, he didn't train that hard, so he's that guy that I gotta keep an eye on." So I had it hard. It was my own fault if they look at it this way, right?
Right.
But by the time when you look at my numbers from February on, I was always in a good spot that I was playing my best hockey, and I think that was one of the reasons why. To be honest with you,
Right.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I'm curious, like that first year, 14-15, you had the 81-point season. What clicked that year? Because it seemed like everything changed. I mean, obviously you were a good player before that, but that just felt like your whole total breakout year.
It's gonna make me like a hypocrite right now, but I was on a strict fucking diet all summer. So
really?
I had a great start to the year. I had a great start to the year. I felt good, right? Everything went on. But February came, I was out of gas. I was gone. I was out of gas. I was skinny again. It wasn't me, right? So I was like, all right, what do I want to do? Do I want to be good from October to February and then disappear? Or do I want to be good from February on? What's the balance? So I kind of went with the other way, and every time I did that, I felt good towards the end of the season, unless I was banged up or like in 17-18 that year. It was a massive year for us, but I think that was the only time that we deserved the blame from everyone, that we absolutely choked. Me, G, Ghost, we had incredible years and we choked. We just didn't perform. We got outplayed by Pittsburgh. We didn't know how to handle it, and we just choked.
Why though? Like in your opinion, like why did that happen? Was it preparation? Was it hack? Was it a miss of everything?
No. It wasn't preparation, because if you're playing 22 minutes a night and you are in the league for 11 years, you should know what's coming, right?
Right.
And G was always in his early years, or until that year, he was, even in Florida, he was good. He was a really good playoff performer. 15-16, he had a surgery with goals right after season. I had a broken foot, so we were hurt. I couldn't skate. They couldn't skate. We were just outplayed overall. But 17-18, we felt good. We finished strong the regular season, and we just got absolutely outplayed in playoffs. And we just, sometimes when you playing bad in the first couple of games and the confidence hits you, and the good players and the good performers, they always rise up. We just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? You just couldn't do it. It was just, if I could give you explanation, or if I knew how to change it, I obviously would have. But we just, I think everybody that goes through those playoff times, they have that at least once. You know what I mean? Like even the guys that won it so many times in the early years, they eventually go into the playoffs and not have a good playoffs. And that was that year for us, which was really disappointing, because we finished off strong.
All right, sorry about that small little break. As for Jake, those couple years in Philly, and obviously now it's kind of they're rebuilding. Obviously, the Flyers now. Do you have any thoughts on where the team's at today, and just the overall makeup of what the Flyers are right now?
Listen, I don't watch it much anymore since I flew home from Columbus in January. So it's kind of, after all those years, especially with the time change here, you know what's going on score wise, but you just don't follow it. Then obviously I still talk to Cruz, I still talk to Lots, and I still talk to those guys. But so one of the players told me that it feels again after Mr. Snyder died, that it's getting back that mojo of being the Flyers when I got traded, when I got there, you feel it right away when you walk in. Like when you walk into the locker room, you feel it. Something, it's hard to describe, but it just have that mojo of fuck you, Like here we are, like we're fucking, you guys gonna come here, you guys, it's gonna be hard. And it kind of disappeared after Mr. Snyder died. I'll be honest with you, and I'm sure all the guys are going to tell you the same thing. I'm not sure if the guys that are still on the team are going to tell you that, but the guys that can tell you that, which I am.
How quick did you notice that? Like, how long did it take for you to really notice that?
It's really hard to say. Like I can't really put a time frame on it, but it just, just doesn't have that pride. Like the pride's disappearing a little bit, and different kind of people. Like AB comes in for fucking, he's there for 3 days, and he said, "Be a fucking flyer." Like he doesn't know what a fucking be a flyer means. Like stop doing this for people. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's been listening to, because people, oh my god, he fucking did well. He knows he's gonna be like, yeah. No, it's only fucking words. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And
I know what you mean.
people does that a lot these days. I fucking hate it. But it's not about AV. It's yeah. Right now with Jonesy at helm and Danny as a GM, I think they know that Jonesy was part of that. You know what I mean? In the years where Flyers were good with Lindros and Leclerc
Yeah.
and Brinda Moore. You know what I mean? So he was part of that. Danny B was part of it as well. Like a finals. And then the years after, when Mr. Strider was still alive. So they know exactly what needs to be done to have that feeling when you walk into the locker room. And one of the players told me that it started to feel the same way as it used to, which I can't be more happy for the players that are there, or the fans, and Philly as a city overall, because it's really worth something. And I think they're going to do a great job. It might take a couple of years, but everybody's expecting that. And yeah, it just, I wish nothing but the best for Philly in the future. And I hope, guys, Kuz is going to retire there. I hope he's going to stay healthy after obviously 2 years of going through hell. And Lots is still there, and Sandy and TK, and I hope they got the guys Carter hard, and they're gonna find a success, and they're gonna be a successful team for years to come, because I miss those guys, and I wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah. No, and that's part of it too, Jake. I think and I think it's different now, like when you see that they're in a different type of like just kind of build of a team, right? Where it felt like for years, we always had G, we had you, we had Simmonds, and then like now it's just like, whoa, like where did everything go? You know what I mean? And I think now, like when you look at it, I think it's different. Like, as a fan, the way that I, and like right away I could notice the difference, like when you were gone, and even G. I think G more specifically because it was like it was a trade in the middle of the season, you know what I mean? So it was like the next game, and like just so many little things from like the face-offs went down.
Well, G was a Flyer. G was the Flyers basically for so many years, since 2000, basically 11, when the Axe came around, and he was having that his breakout year to become a superstar in the league. You know what I mean? G was the Flyers around the league, for people, for media, for everyone. So obviously, when you have somebody like that leave, it's never a great feeling, and I'm sure he would love to stay as well. It just, he knew that it's time to move on as well, because it wasn't feeling the same way as it used to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and he did a right decision. Let's be honest. Flyers got some things, out of that trade as well. Tippet's going to be a hell of a player, or he is already a good player, and he's going to be better even. And he's doing well in Ottawa. He's home with his family. I mean, at 35, he's still playing at a high level. So what else you wish for? That's great.
Right. Just kind of switching gears a little bit. The Mike Sielski thing. Can we talk about this for a minute? What happened there? What sparked the whole thing? I've watched that video so many times over the past couple of years. What was the reasoning? Like, why did you react that way? Essentially,
listen, it's been 3 years and he's still a fucking weasel. So let's start with that. And you know what sparked that thing? Actually, I did, at the first few years at the Flyer, I did some interview with him, articles about my parents, and he was like good at everything. So I had never had a problem with that. But then since 2017, 18, or something like that, I saw some tweets not only about me. Okay, listen, if that was about me, like, all right, it's not an agenda, but it was about Carson Wentz. It was about Chi. It was about the team. It was about the guys getting traded for fucking, what's the singer's name? Katie Smith. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. For Katie Smith's statue and like the shit like that on Twitter and just shitting on everyone. Fucking the guy that is 5'6" tall and just ripping everyone's fucking, another asshole in their bodies. Like, I'm like, no, like it's just enough. And what actually tipped it over the cliff was when he wrote that article that me and Jagr were laughing at AV's fucking interview in the locker room. I was like, okay, I had enough. I like this gotta stop. I gotta stand up for myself. And so he wrote something that I was laughing when Amy was talking about us, that he needs us to be better, which 100% at the beginning of the year, 100%. We could be better, and we were better. We were getting better and better, and then we took off. KBR played well. I played well. And so it wasn't about that, right? It was about that he said that we were laughing at AV behind his back while he was doing, but we were just getting change out of our practice kit, and we were like talking about quietly about something completely else, and we just smile at each other, right? And then he wrote that article to make me look like a fucking absolutely disrespected, arrogant piece of shit. I wasn't having any of that.
Yeah.
So he was kind of avoiding me for the rest of that. Right.
Of that season, you mean? Of 1920?
Of that season,
yeah.
yes. For that, in the locker room, like, and I was ready. And there was always a lot of reporters in the locker room.
Yeah.
And I was ready because I didn't want to make a scene. And so the first time I got to talk to him was, I never thought he would have a balls to ask me a question over the Zoom call, because he was avoiding me already. So he knew that there's something in the air, right? And then he just, because I was over the Zoom call, he asked me, and it just filled up in me, and my heart started pumping. I had that vein on my neck, and I was like, all right, how do I handle this? Do I go after him, or do I just answer it bluntly? Or if I just answer it nicely and just think that he's a fucking idiot, or how do I do that? So I started answering the question. DK had no idea that it's coming, right? Obviously, so
you could tell with his face in the video.
So. Yeah, so we were sitting, and then I just unleashed on him, but there's a lot of people, they don't know this, but Zach Hill, which is absolutely amazing, young guy, handling the media well, like just absolutely one of the best people that I ever met.
Yeah,
he was standing in a little room right on the side of the wall, and so I said it, and then if you look at that video, that TK looked left a little bit because Zach Hill standing there. And I see Zach Hill just start laughing and go sliding down the wall, like into the ground. And exactly. So that's why TK has that first breakout, and then he tried to hold it. And I know something's going on the side, right? And and then I look left as well, and you see me. I'm not looking at TK. I'm looking at Zach. And then Zach like. Yeah, like, because we talked about it before, right? I was like, right. It's gonna be bad. You know me, like it's gonna be something's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're gonna snap.
And Zach was great because he was always like, Jake, I trust you. You do whatever the fuck you want, right? It's my job to handle it after. You do whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
So like I said, I had such a special relationship, like I said, with my teammates, with trainers, with Jimmy McCross and Sal Raffl, Brian Hardenberg, Barry Hanrahan, Paul Holmgren, Hexy, like fucking Brown, like every single guy that I just had a good relationship with. Fucking Joe that works on the door in the locker room, like it's every time like we hug, we talked, and so I always respected everyone because the way I was raised, I never looked down to anyone. Why the fuck would I, right? Like, I'm okay, I might be playing hockey good. You guys doing your job fucking great. Everybody's different. Different path of life. So I always was respectful, but if somebody goes after me, I'm not standing down. I'm fucking, you coming with a knife, I'm going at you with a gun.
There you go. So, and speaking of that and that mentality, I have to ask you about this because I've always personally ever since I've seen it, I've wondered, the thought process behind it. The fight you had against Rob Scuderi in Philly when you're pumping up the crowd, what was kind of going through your mind there? Because I know he hits you along the glass, you retaliate a little bit, and then you just
it was kind of listen. Well, what happened? I had a problem with my knee, right? From
I think I remember
15.
that. Yeah.
I had my knee was 13, 14. I hit the post in the preseason, my lower back, and it was a lot of still at the helm. A lot of you still. I hit the back, and I had to shoot. I had a penalty shot after, and I couldn't even skate there. You could tell on that penalty shot. It's on YouTube. I couldn't even get there. I went straight to the locker, and I was always, but no matter what I had, I always played through it. Like no matter whatever I had to take, I always stepped on the ice and gear up because the image of me getting back skate for fucking 6 weeks after coming out of the injury, I wasn't gonna do it. I wanted to play, so I played through anything, right? And yet it cost me because I had to stop. My body just worn out, but so I hit that back, and that was that beginning of the year when G couldn't score for 18 games, and Lavi got fired, and Chief took over, and then we made that playoffs when the year was exceptional. But I was struggling for a long time in my back. I couldn't move, whatever. Then it got better, and then we just took off after. But sorry, just bringing it on. I'm going year by year now. I'm going lower and lower, and so what happened? I had something with my knee. I don't know, I had a strain an MCL or something, and Scuderi did a perfectly clean hip check on me. But at that moment, on my unprotected knee, I thought it was low, right? Because my knee was sensitive and everything. So I thought he got me a little lower. So, and, I was full of confidence that year. So I was like, all right, let's fucking go. So I just went after him. That was his first fight, apparently. I didn't know that. Poor guy. And,
that was his first fight? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I think so. And I just, the thing is about me, and G always was saying that, okay, don't make him mad. Because when I get mad, like I'm fucking nuts. So he got me mad, and it just ended up. And after, it was unnecessary. I jumped that guy, and I pumped up the crowd. And then you look at it, and you're like, just Jesus Christ, just get to the mark. You know what I mean? So it was kind of that, but it was emotions. I wouldn't do it if I was a little older. But I absolutely blacked out. There was those emotions, that angriness, and everything. Everybody's just going.
Plus the injury too. Yeah.
Everybody's cheering. Like I just got carried away, but it was unnecessary. And I'm not a big fan of those stuff. The same thing as Johnny Boychuk when he was pointing at me at the Islanders game. Like I'm in the box already. Like, and he's pointing at me. I'm gonna get you. So I was like, all right, here we go again. So I was like, just lying on the ground for 5 minutes, just get off the fucking ice. I'm not gonna lie. We played them like a week later. That was like, fuck me. Like, because when I fought, I had to be angry, right? Something had to happen for me to every time I fought angry,
because it was your role. Yeah.
Every time I fought, I was angry, I won. So, but it just didn't happen like this. Right. So I had a couple of fights when I wasn't angry and I lost, or at least I didn't win. I wouldn't say I lost, like I got knocked out, obviously, but I wasn't doing a great job. But that when we played Islanders a week later, I was like, Jesus Christ, he's gonna fucking ask me in the middle of the ice, like, let's go, and I'm just gonna hang on to him and try not to get killed, but. He was actually good about it after I talked to him after the game. He was all right, and he was a little sore, but it was hard on me, obviously, in the game, like battles and anything. But he didn't do anything, which I really respect him after that. And we had a good laugh about it in the bubble after.
Yeah. So just kind of going off that, Jake, you mentioned G a couple of times. Obviously, it was kind of you, and it was you and G, the dynamic duo, Batman, Robin, whatever you want to call it. in Philly.
I hope everybody knows who was Batman, though. For fuck's sakes.
Who
I had a few years I was a Batman, but he carried that load for I would say 7.5 years over those 10 years.
there you go. It's fair enough. As for G, and just kind of your time with him, just kind of talk about him and him as a leader and captain and everything, and just kind of, I guess how, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with this, you probably do, how I guess underlooked and kind of, underrated he was in Philly.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he played there for 14 years, right? 13, I don't know, 14, I think.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the 1 year was the 2 games, but yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, and you gotta understand that G isn't very, unless he knows you, he doesn't open up very much. So for him answering tough questions, it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't comfortable of literally shitting on guys when they needed to be done. So, but he was a great leader by example, right? He was a great pro. He was always prepared, always worked hard, always hate losing. So he was always hard on himself. Then he was harder on anybody else. There was so many times in practice we almost had a fight because the power play wasn't working at that practice. Like we were yelling at each other, fucking from side to side, like fucking wake up, like shit like that.
Yeah.
But it made us better. So we were really hard on each other. When I counted Simmer into that, like that was, we had such a high standard for ourselves that when we went out and the power play wasn't the way we were used to, the first power play, all right, wake the fuck up. The second power play, somebody wasn't sharp. It was almost a brawl on a bench. Like we were going after each other like hard.
Yeah.
And then we went on the third power play, we scored. So, and then we had a laugh about it after periods on the bench. So we were always hard on each other. So when the guys saw it, in my opinion, the younger guys, at the beginning, they're like, what the fuck is going on? But then they saw that we went after each other because it made us better. So when we went after somebody else, because he wasn't performing or he wasn't doing the right things, he had nothing else but respect it because we did it to ourselves as well.
Mm.
So obviously with G, it was like that, and he was just ultimate pro and like great for how small he was. He was in a great physical shape. His forearm wasn't big, but it was so extremely strong. It wasn't even funny. He even beat in a bar Big Buff at the All-Star Game 2015. He beat him in arm wrestling.
No shit.
Yeah, we were a couple cocktails deep, right? Obviously, at that time,
right?
But wow, I was like, yeah, he wasn't losing that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how strong his forearm was, and he was always competitor. So no matter what he did, he wanted to succeed. So when we went out and played darts and have a couple of beers, he wanted to beat the shit out of me. When we played pool, when we played soccer before the game, hoop. We were playing hoop for a lot of years before the game. He always wanted to be the best. Mm-hmm. I think that's why he's still in the league, and that's why he scored 35 goals last year. And he's gonna be a Hall of Famer one day.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, to me, he's the next number in Philly to get retired. I can't see how you don't. Another teammate of yours, Wayne Simmonds. I know the stadium series was bittersweet. Obviously, you guys won. G scores the overtime winner. You tied it late. Obviously, that was Simmonds' last game as a Flyer. Talk about, I guess, that game kind of was going through your head, especially with everything going on outside of it, from if the game's even going to be played with the weather and everything else, and then plus Simmonds and then everything that was kind of going on with his situation too.
Well, it was tough because me and Simmer are really close. Like, we are really good friends. We were roommates 3 years. We were even roommates where we didn't have to be roommates for a year. After the lockout, it was a rule that everybody gets their own room unless you're a rookie, if I'm not mistaken, or on an entry-level contract. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Simmer, are we still doing this or what? And he was like, fuck yeah. So we stuck together for one more year, and we didn't even have to. So So he's such a cool dude, and like I said, he was such a tough player to play against overall. He was, good in front of the net. He had a good shot. He was long arms. He hit everyone. He fought anyone. He was just, top notch player, and he was on the top of everything. He was a great and solid dude. So what else you can ask, And that Stadium Series, that game was bittersweet, obviously, but that's how we go sometimes in hockey. And like I said, hockey's not everything, because those friendships and those memories, they stay with you forever. Hockey career ends, and I'm happy that when I walk out to the game one day, that I can call Wayne Simmonds a really good friend of mine.
That's awesome. Just kind of going off that, then just kind of switching back, I guess, to beginning of your career. You ended up, you grew up same town as Jagr. You played with them. Now you're coaching on his team. You got to talk about that. What's that been like?
Holy fuck, eh? It's crazy. Yeah, it's for people like me and around the same age or older or younger, in Czech in the early 90s, basically the NHL got streaming on TVs, and you got that news from the out west, because of before '89 it was communism party here, and we couldn't do anything. And obviously with the Axe coming on a show, he was in mid 90s, from 93 or 94 until basically 2005, he was the best player in the world. So Mario was there. I was the first couple of years of that, 95, 96, 97. Mario was still there, but the Axe was right at the same level, and so he was everyone's idol. It was either him or Dominik Hasek, and he left for Russia. I was like, okay, that's it. Even if I make it one day to the NHL, it sucks that I won't be playing against him or with him. And then, when I got traded to Philly, he decided to come back, and I remember my agent, because he was also Jagr's agent, Peter Svoboda. He called Paul Holmgren. He was like, we agree on the terms for that 1 year deal. And Jags agreed with his terms. So he made that phone call from Montreal, and we were sitting on a patio, and he was like, congrats, Homer, you got 2 right wings. They're fucking horses. Good luck. So I was like, wow, I'm going to play with fucking Jags. All right. So we ended up being neighbors in the same apartment complex in 3rd and South in Philly. And he there was apartment on the 2nd floor and 3rd floor, and we were like, I was like, he gave me we found it, and I was like, hey, X, I'm gonna go on a 2nd floor. He was like, why don't you go on a 3rd floor? I was like, listen, you are 40 years old, I'm 21, 22. Like, I'm telling you, it might happen that I might have some late nights, during the year when I have a chance. So I don't want to interrupt your schedule or whatever. So sometimes it happened when I think I was just with Simmer. We got home to my apartment, and I started playing music. It was like 2:30 a.m. I don't know where we were, but we had an opposite day off the next day, and so me and him sitting at the bar in the kitchen drinking beer and just talking and just being drunk. And he fucking walks down in his hoodie with his hat, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, where you going? He was like, I gotta go for a run. I was like, fuck, all right. So that was the Axe, right? So yeah, it was funny. Me and Sim were absolutely hammered, sitting in the kitchen, and he goes for a run. I was like, I gotta change my priorities a little bit here. No, but it was a good time. It was a good. I think he was a little bit mad at me. No, honestly, it's overstatement. I'm kidding, but that year, I think he got hurt. I think he pulled his groin, and I got put on a first power play unit with Chemo, G, Harty, and Simmer, and we just started clicking right away. Yeah. And when he got healthy, Lavi kept me there, which I think changed my career as well. And I was still in that position to stay there, even overreact, and I never left that spot for next I don't know, 15 or 13 years. So,
Yeah.
but it was a great experience. And yeah, I got a phone call about 2 weeks ago from him that if I want to help out with a power play. So I thought about it. I talked with my family about it, and so I'm helping them out with a power play.
Nice. How how's that been so far? Just kind of working with the team and just, at least just getting back into the hockey side of things.
It's great. It's a lot of emotions on that bench. I'll tell you that much. It feels great because if you scored a goal, you are exactly the same way. Like you are happy the same way for every goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you're not happy when your teammate scores a goal, but I'm talking about those emotions. When you score, the emotions are obviously higher. You're more adrenaline, more happy. But if you're happy when somebody else scored, but it's not the same level. That's normal. That's a human nature.
Right.
But as a coach, you are happy no matter what. So it's kind of awesome, and it's something that in the future, it's only part time right now because I have two little kids at home and one in the US. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is it like every
yeah,
game, or is it just kind of here and there type stuff?
it's games at home games because it's like 35-minute drive and
Okay.
for me and around the park. So
Yeah.
right now as of now I was at the every game. But when they go all the way out east, I'm gonna miss those. But it's the day before the game. I'll go for practice to practice a power play. And unfortunately, I can't do much. I got two little kids home, and the coaching it's a full-time job. It's crazy. It's crazy 4-time load. So I just wasn't ready to do that as of yet.
Right. Does any part of you maybe wonder that at least maybe in a different sense of maybe coaching or maybe even management, is that something on your mind at some point or no?
Not management. I wouldn't. I don't feel like I am the guy for that. But
Yeah.
coaching, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement in everybody's game, and I feel like as a coach, every player, you have to coach differently. You have to have a different approach to every player.
Right.
There's so much room for those players to just get better and improve. And I think the game is on so many levels from so many coaches. It's the same thing all over again. Defensive zone coverage might change. Of neutral zone forecheck might change. But in the end, it's either that or that. But there's so many so many parts of the ice that they're not being used that I think can be opened up and used in a better way than I was being coached to do so. If you know what I mean.
Right.
So I have some ideas.
Saying,
yes, I have some ideas.
Right.
Eventually, that I would like to approach it. And I might be wrong. I might like fucking suck. I don't know. But when the time is going to be the right for everyone involved, I would like to try it. And we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned a little bit ago about Lavi and just kind of how his, I guess him, obviously being under him and being your coach, that kind of helped your career. Obviously, you mentioned earlier too about Chief, where if the Flyers maybe keep on to him, that could have been something that might have been a little bit different. Anything really could have happened then. Is that kind of the same feeling you have about Lavi? I mean, he's fired after 3 games. It was a weird start, everything, and I know that.
Well, you gotta understand with Lavi, it was the lockout year, plus the preseason, and plus the first 3 games. So on top of everything, like I was saying, Mr. Schneider wasn't fucking around, and he wasn't gonna have any of that.
Right.
So he wanted a result. So I think what happened there, in my own opinion, was that we got beat by New Jersey Devils in 2012 by defensive zone coverage, the way they played. They started playing that D-zone overload with 5 guys really low in the middle, 3 guys in the corner, just killing off the play right away. And I think there was a demand on Lavi that he got to play better defensively than we did in that playoff series overall. And so he kind of changed some things, even if he didn't want to, and he changed it because I think he had to, and it cost him. So obviously we didn't perform well in the lockout year and in the beginning of the next year. But he's a great coach. He's a great motivator, and I really respect him, and I have nothing but the good things to say about him.
Outside of that, obviously it's been, I guess, different with you and your career these past couple of years. You mentioned before the concussions and I guess the issues that you had staying healthy and stuff like that. And is there any idea like are you able to even put a ballpark on how many you had if it was either in Philly or just your career in general?
I know there's like 7 or 8 like official ones, some 5, 6, the kind of okay ones. I don't know.
Like
Every concussion
documented
is
official? Yeah.
Yeah. But then you have those hits when you just don't say anything. That's how it is. Like that's how it was, and maybe it's not like that anymore. And I recommend to the guys to not do it the same way. But like I said, I played every game. We were fucking worse. Me, Simmer, G. We no matter what was wrong, we fucking did anything we could to line up, to be in the lineup and play the game, no matter how hurt we were. So, obviously the biggest one I had was from Ronald. That was a tough one,
Yeah.
right? I was out for only a week. Like it should have been longer, but I was out for a week. I came back. I had a 1-1 against Jersey. First game back, week later. But the first half of the game, it wasn't all right. Like I just didn't feel okay, and it's something that obviously at the time you don't think about, but at the end of the career you reflect. You're like, yeah, I probably fucked that one up. But then I had a pretty bad one in 2017. It wasn't documented because it just, I did like the same thing. I wanted to play, so I got hit in Europe. You gotta understand the glass with the boards. They were like a wall. It wasn't moving. They weren't soft. It was like a wall.
Yeah.
And I was standing against the. I was looking for the puck below my feet. And Osala from Finland, he's like a 6'5", 240 guy, like one of the biggest. He just came and just hit me with my head down, and I hit it in the back of my head. I remember Peter Mrazek telling me that, "Fuck, I looked at you and your fucking eyes rolled up, right?" And then I was out of it. And I skated to the bench. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where I was. What was I doing there? I tried the next shift. I was like a chicken without a head, just skating around. I didn't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I gotta come off.
So this was Worlds?
That was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bad one. And, I'm not sure if I had one. I think I was pretty okay against when Kulikov hit me when we played the Buffalo game. That was a heavy hit too. My helmet flew off and everything, but I handled that one pretty good. And I didn't have those little ones. I know I had one in the bubble.
You had one in the bubble too.
In a round robin, yeah, I missed the one game there too. And then after every single contact, not even in my head, was kind of like weird feeling when even in practice, it happened to me in Finland with Columbus. Now I collided with Gavrikov in practice. I skated, my head was spinning. Then I got high sticked against Colorado, and the next morning I woke up and I felt like shit. I was like, listen, guys, it's just I don't want to end up like some other athletes. That's what they go through, and it just
right.
So
right, because there's more than that. I mean, again, like you have young kids and all that too. That's obviously all that's part of the decision too.
I think that's why when we go by, I think that's why the coaches kind of, in some kind of way, they like me as a person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they always knew there was always more out of me, and I agree with them. I was like, I agree. Fuck, did I give it 80%? Probably. Would I give it 100%? But I would miss everything around that of friendship, the fun, and I never get stuck on when I didn't play well. I never got stuck on that. I always was positive that I was always like this, which my dad taught me when I was since I was a kid, that it's always gonna get better, but it's gonna get worse when you are right here. So I was always trying to keep it like this, and there's so much more to it: the relationships, the fun, the everything else around it. I just enjoyed it as well, and I understand it from some kind of standpoint that some coaches might have took it in the wrong way.
Right.
But I always perform and I always left everything on the ice, no matter what I did.
Yeah. No, and that's something that you could say. I mean, especially playing through that many injuries, and
So,
I'm probably biased saying it, but again, it's there's a lot of that, I think, and even just watching you play, you know what I mean? That, like, one of the reasons that I'm gonna fanboy out for a minute here. Like, one of the reasons why I always appreciated your game was because you never took a shift off. And it's
yeah.
part of the reason why that's kind of how I tried to mold my game. I mean, I've never played anything higher than, fucking beer league, street
Yeah.
hockey. But outside of that, I mean, that's kind of what it is. So just kind of going off that then, Jake, circling back to the Flyers a little bit, um, in your opinion, is there one thing that you kind of always knew that you guys like that you needed? If it was like depth or a goaltender or another defenseman or something or third line center or whatever, like was there always something in the back of your head that you're like, we need more type of mentality or no?
I felt like it was always something. Like it was always a different part of something,
Yeah.
right? So you obviously we had a pretty good setup, and then like I said, Hexy took over Homer, and Hexy felt like we needed a retool, right? Obviously, you need to do it because your salary cap is fucked. So we need to move some pieces, and so like Schenner at his prime gets traded. You know what I mean? Then he goes off the power play, but Kutz comes on and he's playing incredible well as well. So it's kind of, but Schenner was a great player, and we missed him. Like we missed him years after, like a
Yeah.
lot.
Especially with Patrick
Yeah,
being hurt.
yeah. Then you have, then you have Pat. You have a second row like what a talent that guy was or is. Like he is like slick hands, great skating ability. Like it just, and then he absolutely, couldn't hold with his health, and
Mhm.
great kid too. Like very respectable. Like like just easygoing guy. Uh, then you have I don't know. Then you have Sam Moran that is like a fucking good, like solid D that could like really make the game stuff for the other players. Like, but again, his knee gave out. Like, and I can go on and on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was
So,
always
and
something.
I'm curious with that then. Does any part, do you think the Flyers had a medical team issue for a while?
Like there was a problem with medical staff. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, or just like not guys just always being injured. That, I guess what I'm asking is, was, in your opinion, do you think that there was a problem with the medical staff and guys always just being hurt too?
I go off my personal experience, and I might be biased, so don't take me word by word. But
Yeah.
I love Jimmy and Sal, and I had a relationship with them. And anything I ever needed, it's been done. At a certain points, especially now these days, like as a hockey player, I feel like if it's not your head, there's so many games that you're not 100%. I'm saying if you are feeling 100% healthy wise for 50 games a year, you are
Yeah.
fucking lucky.
Yeah.
And now it's about you handling the rest. Obviously, if you have a broken foot or broken leg or broken whatever or separated shoulder, there's nothing you can do. But I'm saying those little injuries that I see more and more guys just
It
coming
just
in
adds up.
like groin. My groin is my groin was there for fucking 10 years. You know what I mean? Like fucking suck it up and play. Like
Yeah.
it's we just a different approach of and different mentality from
Right.
player to player. But if there was no, I don't think there was a problem with them. They were obviously Jimmy was really old school, and some things were maybe handled not the right way in 2010s or 2020s. But like I said, you are a player, you know your body the best, you know what to do, what what you need to do to be able to play, or if it's going to hurt you long term, in my opinion. So it's your call, especially now when you can get a second opinion. You do whatever the
Right.
fuck you want.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had a concussion, you got an Advil, go ahead, go back there. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And so it's everybody's got a different approach to that. But I never had an issue with any of those guys. And I was lucky enough that I didn't have any medical problems, the big ones. You know what I mean? Like I never had a surgery, which for a hockey player is crazy.
That is
Never,
nuts, honestly,
yeah,
when
never.
you think about
I
it.
never. Everybody's telling
And
me how. Everybody telling me, oh, you should stretch. I was like, why would I stretch? I never had a problem with lower back or groins in my life.
right.
In my life, like that. And I believe if you stretch, if you overstretch too much, then you are more capable of pulling something. That's my opinion too.
Right. You know, it's funny because there was a time that I never really realized that, or I guess now that when I think about it, I never noticed you doing that, like stretching or doing, any of that stuff. And there is a specific story that I have to tell here. That's from warm ups. So a couple years ago, it was 2017-18. It was actually the night. It was the Eagles Super Bowl run. It was the night that they played the Falcons at home and they won that game. I think
Yeah, we were hammered probably. Right?
yeah, you guys were in Jersey. I think you guys were in Jersey that night. Me and my dad were at the game, and I'm sure you probably remember this, but like how the Prudential Center is like set up. There's like, you know how like Wells Fargo now they got like the glass where the fans are, like right where you guys come out. There
There is a
isn't
glass
that.
now.
Yeah, there's glass now. So like you can't like I used to like put my hand down like high fives and
You
shit.
can,
Like you can't do
yeah,
that now.
you can throw
Yeah.
shit at people. Yeah,
Um. So yeah, like me and my dad were at the game, and you guys just came on the ice for warm-ups, and you were standing right by the bench.
yeah.
I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. But the music was so loud, and Simmer was in the corner. And all I remember, me and my dad were watching, and we hear you go, Simmer, Simmer, trying to get him for sending you a pass. And you go, oh, what the fuck? And
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
in those warm ups, when you play together, you got different things and the different times that you do with some players. Like
Yeah,
PNG
yeah.
did a one timers across, me and Timmer did
Uh-huh.
something as well. I can't remember what it was now at a certain time. And sometimes some player forgets, right? Because they are like zoned out or they're not
Yeah.
in there yet, or they just forget.
Right.
But you stand there, you waiting, and then he just wasn't doing it. But we were giving each other a hard time overall. There was we always had fun with each other, and the shit we said to each other, like we would get canceled these days right away. It was crazy.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. Like that, I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. It was so funny. And you mentioned the power play a little bit. I'm curious. So for you, like it's hard for me to I guess kind of describe it, but for you, like, what's your kind of message to people who say that you had to, I guess, shoot more on the power play?
Well, you gotta understand. So I'll tell you something about the power play that 99% of people don't know, right? At that setup. So I'm playing on the right half wall, right? And everything is basically set up through G side. Him as a righty, as a left-handed defenseman on top, which is an easier pass than from my side as a lefty to lefty because it's a different angle and it's harder to get it there, right?
Right.
I don't have the bumper. I have a lefty, so I can only shoot it for a high tip. I don't have that opportunity of getting the one timer. And then in front of the net, I have a right-handed player that if he pops on my side, it's a harder pass again. And
Yeah.
even if I give it to him, there's nothing going on. But it was set up purposely. So G had those opportunities. So we had a lot more time. So I had a free of moving down, and then you get that synchronized when he's somewhere you move, right? So sometimes when I move, I was usually knowing what I'm gonna do with the puck. But when I wasn't in the right position to shoot it, I couldn't shoot it because even if I shoot it, there's no way it's gonna be scored. Ovechkin is standing at the one spot that is inside the dots at the same spot, and obviously with his shot, it's the best shot I've ever seen. So it's easier for him, right? But like I knew when I get it, and it's a harder pass from Ghost to me because he's a lefty, so his stick is inside the zone, and it's through. It had to go through something to be in my wheelhouse, right?
Right.
I shot it when I had to, but I knew if I'm gonna get the puck from G on a seam, I knew every time what I'm gonna get or what I'm gonna do with it. So people think shoot, obviously it's always easier to shoot the puck and look like, yeah, I shot it. Well, I try. But I can count how many times when I got it and when I stepped into it and I passed the back door to Simmer, the play was there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
A
you
lot of the
have to
time it was
play
a
with
slam dunk.
exactly. So we just had this kind of power play set up, and everybody knew what we were doing, but most nights they couldn't do anything with them because we executed so well.
Right.
So there is time and place to shoot it, but I wasn't gonna shoot it just in case of shooting it. I would never
Right.
do that. I think it's stupid, and
Yeah.
not even if I would make some Flyers fans happy. There was times when I was holding the puck on a power play, and they were like, "Shoot." And I just in the middle of the play, even with the puck on my stick, shut the fuck up. Like I started yelling back. And he got on the bench, he was crying, laughing with Simmer. Like he was like, I was losing it. I was like, man, like why? Like I cannot do that. We know, but it's so funny. I was like, fuck you guys. So it was just fun. And yeah, I mean, overall, should I shoot a lot more? 100%. But you gotta think about that for my luck that I would say I wasn't a player 99% better than other players, but I'm confident enough to say that I was smart enough and my vision was good enough to always see one or two extra plays than they were there.
Right. No,
So
yeah,
now,
100%. And
so listen to
go
that.
ahead.
So now what you gotta do, because you see that extra two options, you gotta figure out which one is the best at that time. Some
Right.
guys seeing one option, and some guys don't even see the fucking option. There are players like that; they just fucking go and go and go. Right? I saw those extra one or two or three extra plays, and in that millisecond, I had to figure out which play is the best for us to kind of score the goal. So sometimes what happens, you have something in your head, but you pick the wrong option. It just happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I had it sometimes for sure. But listen, I'm not gonna apologize for having fucking 600 apples.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, again, I mentioned it off the top, 583. There's no reason. I mean, clearly you saw enough of those plays to have that many assists. And how many of them are primary? I mean, if you went through the stat list, and probably 300 of them are primary.
I remember last year, like I had only like in Columbus, I had only like fucking. I think I was in the single digits of secondary assists, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But so, just that kind of cliche. If anybody wants to shit on you from somebody like Mike Sielski, they're always gonna find an excuse. But
Yeah.
at the end, you cannot be loved by anyone.
Right.
Everyone, I mean, for it.
Right.
It's impossible task, and even if you do everything right, you're gonna find someone that's gonna fucking hate you. So
right. No, exactly. And and you mentioned a little bit with Ghost. Are there any ghost stories or anything that you have, funny ghost stories?
oh fuck, he was so funny. He was so sarcastic. Oh my god, one of the most sarcastic guys I know. And I love dark humor, and I love sarcastic humor. So it makes me laugh, right? So his kind of things, that the way he looks, and then the way he looks at everybody else or me, like we kind of connect right away, and we are really good friends. And I'm just happy that I got to play with him. You know what I mean? And so many years, and just watch him grow and watch him learn, and just like I said, we were like when we went out on a road or even at home, sometimes there were fucking 14, 15 guys together, like just going at each other, telling jokes, just Raffl, like same thing, like just amazing relationship with those guys. And yeah, it's a great memories. So Ghost was part of that, and I'm sure he would say the same thing.
Yeah. How is Raffl? Have you talked to him at all?
Yeah, he's in Lausanne right now. So my sister lives there, so I went to visit a few times. So I saw him, and he's doing good. He I think for him, if he wasn't hurt that much over years in the NHL, I think he would, throughout his career, there would be a year that he would get 4 years, $3.5 million contract.
Yeah.
But he was hurt so much, but he could play anything. He could play center. He could play wing.
Yeah, I mean the Flyers basically turned him into a center.
He defended well. He was a great locker room guy. He was a good leader. He wasn't fucking around. He was in great physical shape. unfortunately, he was hurt too much, but he still had a phenomenal career. Like he played for a long time, and Raff is one of those guys that's gonna be friend forever.
Yeah, no. Just my last question here on your time in Philly. Is there anything that you change?
Is anything I change? Of course it is. You want to win there. If you win, you don't have to pay for dinner for the rest of your life. And I'm sure we had a lot of cheap fucks on the team, so they would appreciate that. But you know, I don't care about that. But no, obviously it's a joke. But I was so many times I was picturing that parade with me fucking being drunk at the Rocky Stairs, just fucking singing Bruce Springsteen, absolutely hammered with fucking 500,000 people in the street. I had those pictures, so obviously I would change something. If I could change something, I would like to change it to win in Philly, because if you win in Philly, we could see it with Eagles, right?
Even the Phillies now.
Yeah, Philly's looking good as well. So, it's remarkable, and I know I kind of have a love-hate relationship with some of the fans in Philly, but for me, it's not personal, if you know what I mean. It's nothing is personal, it's just a hockey. And I'm sure if I would have with those fans, they were yelling at me that I'm a fucking loser and I can't shoot, that if I would have a beer with them, we would have a good laugh and go over some stories, and just the way it is. It's just sports.
Yeah. No, definitely. Jake, that's all I got for you, brother.
Right.
It's again, it was a lot of fun.
We finally made it happen, eh?
There we go.
I was keeping you on the ropes. I was keeping you on the ropes a little
bit. Yeah, since I think it was January of 2022, we've been going back and forth. So it's been fun. Been able to, keep in touch, and thank you again. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me that you can come on.
I gotta finish with that story too. What made me text you? I know you had it early in the morning. It was like 6 a.m. or something, 5 a.m. your time.
It's no problem.
That my son walked out of his bedroom with my father's jersey on, and he was like, "Can you put some highlights of you like on the TV?" Fuck yeah, of course I will. Like I'm living for that right now, right? I'm not playing, so I'm so happy when somebody asks me that.
Right.
And so I played for him, and it was just kind of those memories and deja vus and something like that. And he was like looking at it with my jersey on it. I was like, all right, fuck, let's talk about some Flyers hockey. It's been a while, and yeah, so we made it happen. I'm glad.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you. Really, again, I do appreciate it. Hopefully we'll do it soon.
Of course, buddy. Good luck to you. Good luck to the Flyers. See you, buddy.
Thanks, Jake.